Good afternoon and namaste, students. I hope you're all fine after the last class. We are meeting after a few days, right? And that you have gone through the lessons that were taught and you're finding it okay, your lessons that the study material that you have gone through. I hope you are okay with the lesson. Last class I have taught you the law of diminishing marginal utility. That is cardinal analysis by Marshall, where utility is expressed in the form of cardinal numbers like 1, 2, 3, 20, 30, like that. Then we went to consumer surplus, something that every one of us feel in our day-to-day life, that is the extra satisfaction you get when you buy or consume certain things for which you pay only less than what you are willing to pay. So the difference between what you are willing to pay expressed on your demand curve and what you actually pay is the measure of consumer surplus. I hope you remember the diagram in the last class. Marginal utility curve, which is also the demand curve. And then on the y-axis there is price, on the x-axis there is quantity. At equilibrium price, some or you yourself willing to pay more for the previous units, but you are paying the market determined price which is lower than your willingness to pay. So the price in the market is lower than your willingness to pay. And so that difference is the consumer surplus. Okay. One student had asked me a question. If marginal utility curve is the same as demand curve, is it possible that demand can be negative? It's a very good question. I am so happy that you are thinking about things. Okay. Please note, we have to pay money for a good and we consume where marginal utility is equal to price. Since price is always positive, your consumption will be only on the positive part of the marginal utility curve. Nobody will consume in such a way that you have negative marginal utility. So only the quadrant number 1, the positive part of the marginal utility curve will be relevant for the demand curve. When we say theory, definitely we will say marginal utility can be negative. That is theory. But no person would extend his consumption up to the point where marginal utility is negative because you have to pay money, right? And so nobody will, theory says marginal utility can be negative, but in practice, nobody would extend consumption to the extent that marginal utility is negative. Now we go to the usefulness of the concept. You know, consumer surplus is the area bound by y-axis, demand curve and the price line. Then we are learning business economics. As a business economics person or as a person who is dealing with business, advising business, why should you know about consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is a very important concept for a business person. That is, when you are making decisions as a businessman, when you are making decisions about setting price. For example, your product may be such that there is a lot of consumer surplus. Okay? People are willing to pay more for your product. Say, for example, you are supplying drinking water. People are prepared to pay more. Okay? So, if your consumer surplus is more, slightly raising the prices will not create problem for the consumer. Okay? Because only a small part of the consumer surplus will be taken away while raising prices. So if your product has consumer surplus, you can safely raise the price. If your product does not have much consumer surplus, the consumers will get dissatisfied if you increase the price. Because whatever small consumer surplus, you are taking it away. Okay. When price rises, I told you yesterday, that is consumer surplus will be smaller. Okay. Now, if there are substantial consumer surplus, raising the price a little will only reduce the consumer surplus less. But if already consumer surplus is less, your raising the price will disappoint the consumers. Okay. Then, there is one point given in your book. Firms can use price discrimination. If you take your book, you will find it as point number 2. That is, that is raising the product prices, price discrimination, point number 2. I cannot explain that at this point, but the same thing you will study in chapter 4, markets. People, monopolists who discriminate price is given, beautifully given there. This point will be taught at that point, at that time when you are studying the fourth chapter. So I cannot, because I have to teach price discrimination and all theories before I explain. Our time does not permit that. Then, if you are the finance minister, okay, if you are the finance minister, you will find government is providing lots of things for us, okay. Government is providing street light, government is providing rations, okay. All these are, actually we pay only very small amount for the ration rice. We don't pay at all for the street light, right. These are things that give us a lot of consumer surplus, right. So any government policy which will provide consumer surplus will make the citizens happy. Okay. So when you set policies as a minister, those policies that will give greater consumer surplus will be better policy than a policy that gives only lesser consumer surplus. Okay. That takes us to the ordinal utility approach. You can open your book, page number 2.65. Okay, ordinal utility approach. The title is Indifference Curve Approach. Indifference Curve Approach. Before we go, let us first of all learn the meaning of the term indifference. Indifference is, that is, you don't mind this or that. Then we say we are indifferent. For example, you are asked, would you like to have coffee or would you like to have tea? Then you will say, it's okay, either coffee or tea. That means both coffee and tea give you equal satisfaction, and so you are indifferent. Did you get the point? Indifferent. It's okay to have either this or that because both are equally satisfying for you. And so, indifference curve will be explaining this indifference. That's why it is known as indifference curve. Okay, we are going to indifference curve very soon. And what is ordinal utility approach? Cardinal, you already know. What is cardinal? We can measure utility, express it in the form of numbers, cardinal numbers, compare utility, add utility. But this next version of ordinal utility says, come on, it is not possible to measure utility and express it in the form of numbers. So we say cardinal measurement of utility is not possible. That is the first argument. Then, how is it possible to measure it? It is not possible to measure it and express it in the form of numbers. Then, what is possible? You can only order your utilities. Order means put it in order, order your preferences. Okay, ordering of preferences means, that is, I have drawn here on the board You are given 4, I hope you can see this. You are given 4 ice creams, okay? 4 ice creams are kept. These 4 ice creams are of different flavor. The first one is chocolate, the second one is vanilla, the third one is pista, and the fourth one is butterscotch. Okay? 4 flavors of ice cream kept on the table. Each one who is attending this class will have their preference. So I ask you, which one would be the first? Okay, you can write vanilla is the first. Somebody else might say chocolate is the first. So what you do is, you can order them as first, second, third and fourth. First, second, third. Best I like, for example, the most preferred ice cream for me is vanilla. The second preferred ice cream is chocolate. The third preferred, so I can say first, second, third, fourth. So I order, okay, the first is vanilla, second is chocolate, third is pista, and the fourth is butterscotch. I have put it in order, okay. I have ordered my preferences. So I can only say first, second, third and fourth, okay. Ordinally, I can say ordinal numbers, right. Then I cannot, if you ask me, how much more do you like vanilla when compared to chocolate? I only know that vanilla is more preferred to chocolate, but not how much, what is the distance, I cannot say. So this is the crux of ordinal utility analysis. This is the basic point in ordinal utility analysis, that is, people have a scale of preference, okay? This is my scale of preference and your scale of preference will be different. A third person's scale of preference will be different. But each person, it is capable, each person is capable of ordering their preference. There is no number associated. No, it is not possible to give a cardinal number to utility. We can only order our preferences. That is utility is only ordinally expressible. That's what is given in your book. Then the second assumption that we have is people are rational. They apply reason, okay, they apply reason and they have full information. For example, you have tasted vanilla, you have tasted chocolate, you know the taste of pista, and you know that, okay, you know all the benefits of all the ice cream. You know the prices of all ice creams, okay? And everything you know, you have full information. And so, you are capable of ranking. For example, this got first rank, second rank, third rank, and fourth rank. It is, you are capable of ranking your preferences. You are capable of expressing your preferences. Okay? Then, the next thing about our ordinal utility approach is, preferences are transitive. Transitivity of preference. You don't worry about it. It's very simple. Transitivity of preferences, you know, your preference is consistent. When are you consistent? When you behave in such a way that you are given a choice, you choose something. Same things you are given a second time, you choose the same thing. You are consistent. Okay. Now, transitivity of preferences can be simple way I can explain. For example, after passing your +2, you have 3 choices. The first choice is chartered accountancy, say A is BA. The second choice is to go for BCom. The third choice is to go for BBA. Okay? You have chosen chartered accountancy because that is the best for you. Okay, you feel that is the best for you. If you are given A and B, okay, A and B, this is B and this is C. If you are given A and B, which one will you choose? You will choose Chartered Accountancy. If you are given A and C also, see, A is preferred to B and B is preferred to C. Okay, A is preferred to B and B is preferred to C. So if you are given A and B, which one will you choose? You will choose Chartered Accountancy because A is preferred to B. If you are given B and C, which one would you prefer? You will prefer B to C. Naturally, because your preference is like this. Preference order is like this. If you are given A and C, okay, you are given A and C, go for CA or go for BBA. Definitely, you will be consistent if you choose CA and not BBA. Okay, so A is preferred to B, which is preferred to C, and if A and C are given, you should be preferring A itself. Then you say your preferences are transitive, or your preferences are not conflicting. Your preferences are consistent. Okay, right. And the fourth thing that you must remember about indifference curve is more is always better. A consumer would like a combination of, suppose there are two baskets of commodities, right? A consumer would prefer that basket which has more goods compared to the basket which has less good. Or in other words, we can say more is always better. A consumer prefers a combination which has more number of goods compared to less number of goods. These are the assumptions underlying the indifference curve. Okay, so human satisfaction being subjective, personal, what one feels, it is not, I'll repeat, it is not possible to measure it in numbers and express it quantitatively as law of diminishing marginal utility theory postulates, right, says. That is Marshallian analysis. This version that we are learning is the version given by Hicks and Allen. Why do you say Hicks and Allen? Because there are many versions and this is the simplest version. Okay, when you study this, you might feel this is not very relevant. But please remember, when you go to higher and higher classes, we use these indifference curves, for example, for analyzing international trade, in public finance, everywhere we use the indifference curves. Okay, and so you are only studying the basic. As you proceed to the next chapter, when you are studying production, you will be studying isoquants, which is the same as the indifference curve. The principle is the same as the indifference curve. So this is a very useful tool. So this is a tool which is used for analyzing. Now we go to the indifference curve. What is the meaning of indifference curve? I said indifference is, come on, you are okay with this or with that. Right. And so what will be indifference curve? It is a curve. Okay. It is a curve. Not a straight line. It is a curve. Come on, read your book. Which represents all those combinations of two goods. All those combinations of two goods, which give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. Combinations of good X and good Y. In our example, combinations of clothing and food. Combinations of clothing and food which give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. Note now, we are moving away from Marshallian analysis where Marshall's consumer continuously consumed one and only one good. This consumer has combination of two goods, X and Y. Why are you saying only two goods? Because we have only one y-axis and one x-axis, and we have to analyze, and so we take a representative situation with only two goods. I repeat, what is an indifference curve? An indifference curve is a curve which shows combinations of two goods which give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. So wherever the consumer is on this curve, wherever, whether it is here or here, he is at the same level of satisfaction. So please note it, he is at the same level of satisfaction at point A, B, C, D, any point on the indifference curve. That is why it is called an indifference curve, because all points are equally satisfying for him. All points are equal. All combinations are okay for him. All combinations are equally preferred. All combinations give equal satisfaction, and so the consumer is indifferent. Okay? Indifferent among different combinations. What is indifferent among? Because when more than two, we say indifferent among. If you take only 2 points A and B, indifferent between. Okay. So the consumer is indifferent among with all points. He does not mind which combination of good he gets. And that is the indifference curve. You can look into your book. I'll take the same example. Okay. As I said, please remember, all consumers have a scale of preference, and it is possible for him to say which is good, which is bad, which one is good, better, and all that. Okay. And there are 4 combinations given in your book. That is A, B, C, D. The combination 1 is 5, that is 12 clothing and 1 food. The second combination, you can look at the table because everything cannot be written on the board. The second combination is 6 clothing and 2 food. The third one is, the third one is 4 clothing and 3 food. The fourth one is 3 clothing and 4 food. Learn it thoroughly. The first one, now you can easily write it. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is each additional unit of food. Marginal. Why marginal? Because food is increasing one by one. The consumer had initially 12 units of clothing. Be precisely with me. If you understand this, it is clear. If you don't understand at this point, it's going to be difficult. Okay. Now, the consumer has 12 units of clothing and 1 unit of food. Any 2 good you can write like this. Okay. But here we have taken an example of clothing and food. When he has 12 units of food and 1 unit of clothing, he is at point A. Right? Then, when he has 2 units, suppose the consumer wants an additional unit of food, then he has to give up, relinquish. Okay, he has to give up, give up some clothing. Why should he give up clothing? Because there is a condition in indifference curve. The satisfaction should remain the same throughout the curve. So if you have an additional unit of food, you have additional utility from food. Okay. Now you have only less units of food. Only 1 unit of food means in your combination, food is less and clothing is more. The consumer consumes now, go to the next combination, that is 2 units of food, then he has to give up some units of clothing. Why give up? That is, he has to remain at the same level of satisfaction. So, when you have more food, and the same clothing means you are happier. More is always better. So, you have to reduce the quantity of clothing in order to remain at the same level of satisfaction. Now, what is your added utility? I will draw a small picture for your added utility. Okay, one more additional unit of food. Okay, the second unit of food adds this much utility to you. So, you should be losing the same quantity of utility from clothing. Right? This is what you lose and this is what you gain. The utility that you lose is equal to the utility that you gain. Please note it down there. That is the utility that you lose by giving up 6 units of clothing is gained by the additional food that you are getting. That is the second unit of food. Okay, now what is the ratio? That is 6 units of clothing you are giving up only for 1 additional. That is the second unit of food. Okay, this is the reason. For example, when you have, according to the law of diminishing marginal utility, you have only 1 food, your marginal utility for food is so high. Then you have 14 units or 12 units of clothing, you have so much clothing, your marginal utility for clothing is less. So you are eager to consume 1 more unit of food for which you have great utility, and so you get utility worth 6 units of clothing. So you give up 6 units of clothing. The utility that you lose by giving up 6 units of clothing is equal to the utility that you gain by the second unit of the food. Right? The consumer is now at point B. Point A and point B are equally satisfying. He is at the same level of satisfaction. Because the utility added by the second unit is equal to the utility lost by giving up 6 units. Now that he has less clothing, according to the law of diminishing marginal utility, his marginal utility for clothing is increased. Not as low as when he had 12 units. Okay? And what about food? He has 1 more unit of food, and so his utility is not as high as the condition where we had only 1 unit of food. And so now that he wants a 3rd unit of food, okay, for the 3rd unit of food, the utility added is only less when compared to the second, okay. This is the utility of the 3rd unit of food. Then he need to give up only less utility because he has to remain at the same level of satisfaction. So he is giving up. Earlier he was giving up 6 because the utility of the second unit was so high. Now he is giving up only 2. Say for example, see, look at that. That is for the 3rd unit, he is giving up 2. 6. He had 6, okay. After giving up 12, he had 6. But now he is giving up 2. So the new combination is 3 and 4. The new combination is, so the 3rd unit of food, he has given up only 2 units of clothing. So what is gained is less, and so what he gives up is also less. Okay? Now come on, the 4th unit of the food, he has more food, and so his utility from every additional unit of food decreases, and so he need to give up only less in terms of clothing. What is the condition satisfied? The condition that is satisfied is he must remain at the same level of satisfaction. Are you with me? The lost utility is gained by the additional unit. What is the lost utility here? Worth 6 units of clothing is equal to the utility of 1 unit. For because of the operation of law of diminishing marginal utility, next time, okay, the utility of the additional food decreases, and so you need to give up only less. And when your clothing reduces, your utility for clothing actually increases. So what you lose in terms of clothing, you gain in terms of food, additional unit of food, so that you remain at the same level of satisfaction. You go to the fourth column now, it is written MRS. It is marginal rate of substitution. This is the most important point in our analysis. Marginal rate of substitution. And what is marginal rate of substitution? Marginal for every additional unit of food. That is marginal rate of substitution. The rate at which each additional unit of food is obtained and what we give up. The rate at which we are willing to give up Y, that is here clothing. The rate at which we are willing to give up Y, here clothing, in order to get an additional unit of X. Hereafter I will be talking now in terms of Y and X. Okay, Y will be clothing and X will be food. And so what is marginal rate of substitution? It is 6. Okay, what you give up for the second is 6 units. Next what you gave up is only 2. Next what you gave up is only 1. What do you find? Marginal rate of substitution is diminishing. So that is one property. Marginal rate of substitution is diminishing. So in theory we say diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Now I have written here 2 more tables. Quickly you calculate the marginal rate of substitution of XY. That means the quantity of Y that you are willing to sacrifice in order to get an additional unit of X, so that you remain at the same level of satisfaction. So that is one condition you should not forget. You remain at the same level of satisfaction. Here, of course, there is no giving up. For the second unit of X, come on, you are willing to give up 4 units. How? 15. Now we have only 11. That means you have given up 4 units. For the third unit, come on, the third unit, the addition is less, and so you are willing to give up. Now you have 8, which means you have given up 3 units. The fourth unit of food gives you little less satisfaction, and so you give up only less. That is 2 units you give up. And the fifth unit, you have less because of law of diminishing marginal utility. You have less and less added by each additional, so you give up less and less. This you give up only 1. So this is marginal rate of substitution. Now this is work for you. Please do it very fast. Come on. For the second one, come on. For the second one, it is 5. Now you have only 9. What is it that we have given up? Come on. 13 minus 9. We have given up 4 here. Now for the fourth unit of X, you have 6 units. That means earlier you had 9 units. You have given up 3. Here you have given up difference between 6 and 2. And here for the 6th unit, difference between 4 and 3, 1. So the conclusion is marginal rate of substitution is diminishing. So you can see in this diagram what is marginal rate of substitution. This is the first, okay, this is the second, okay, this is the third, right? Goes like that. For each time you find increase in X is constant, but decline in Y is increasing. And so this gives the shape of indifference curve. What is the shape of the indifference curve? It is downward sloping. Why is it downward sloping? It is downward sloping because when one is reduced, the other has to increase. You remember our inverse relationship. When one is decreased, the other should increase. Okay. And so definitely it should have a downward sloping shape. And what is the shape actually? It is convex to the origin. Okay. What is the meaning of convex to the origin? This is origin. If you look from there, the curve is convex. Convex is this. Okay. That is the meaning of convex to the origin. Right. Why is it convex to the origin? It is convex to the origin because of diminishing. This is delta y you give up. This is delta x you gain. This is the delta y you give up. This is the delta x you gain. This is the delta y you give up. You find for each additional unit you are giving up less and less. That will give the indifference curve a shape which is convex to the origin. So we have gone to say, for example, what is the shape of the indifference curve? That is, indifference curve will, you can open your book and mark it. Indifference curve is sloping downward. What are the other possible shapes? If indifference curve, is it possible, multiple choice question, is it possible to have a vertical straight line indifference curve? It is not possible because please keep remembering, number one condition is our satisfaction should remain the same. If you have more of any good, your satisfaction will increase. Okay. And so, if this is an indifference curve, what does it mean? You have y is equal to 1 and then this x is equal to 10 and here y is equal to 1. Here y is 2, 10 and 2. Definitely B has greater satisfaction when compared to A because B has more of y and same x. Is it clear? More of y and same 10x and more of y. As you move up to C, there are 3y and 10, the same 10x. Which means A is not equal to B is not equal to C when it comes to satisfaction. B has greater satisfaction. So this is not an indifference curve. What is the condition of an indifference curve? An indifference curve should have equal levels of satisfaction at all points. Here B has greater satisfaction because B combination is more than A combination. And C has greater satisfaction because C combination is greater than A and B. So this is not an indifference curve. And what about this curve? Can it be a straight line parallel? No. Here we have a constant y. Say for example 10. This is a combination 10 and 1, 10 and 2. X is increasing. That means you have greater and greater satisfaction as we move from A because combination B has more number of goods than combination A. More is always preferred than less. You remember our fifth assumption. More is always preferred than less. And so combination B will have greater satisfaction. Combination C will have greater satisfaction. Then another thing is, it cannot have this shape, which means A is definitely better than, B is definitely better than A because it has more of both. And so, the only shape it can have is downward falling. That is when one is given up, other is gained. The utility that you give up from due to giving up of y is gained by the utility that you gain from x, so that remain at the same level of satisfaction. Okay, and it is convex to the origin. The reason is it is because of the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. That is the rate at which you give up keeps on falling. The reason is every additional unit gives you less and less satisfaction, and so you need to give up only less and less of y, less and less of y giving you satisfaction, right? How much satisfaction? The less and less y. Now this diminishing marginal rate of substitution, we have to know one more thing, but because we are not deriving it, it is the ratio of your marginal utility. The ratio of your marginal utility, that is mu x divided by mu y. That is, please learn it. MRS is mu x divided by mu y. You remember in the last class also, we came to the ratio of marginal utility mu x by mu y is equal to px by py. You remember? So the same mu x by mu y. So please remember, the slope of the indifference curve is nothing but marginal rate of substitution. Please note it down. Marginal rate of substitution. Suppose the substitution is less, okay, flatter, the curve is flatter, then the rate of substitution, see, does not fall that much, okay. So the slope of the indifference curve is the marginal rate of substitution, and marginal rate of substitution is defined as the ratio of marginal utilities. Okay. Now, next thing, look at the indifference curve. Again, utility, please note it, this is not given in your book. Utility is a function of two goods, clothing and food. Utility is constant along the curve. Please write it down. Utility is a function of both goods, not one good as in the case of Marshall. Second one, utility is constant along the curve because your satisfaction is throughout it is the same. Right? But please remember, the slope is not constant. Why is that the slope not constant? Because marginal rate of substitution is the slope and marginal rate of substitution keeps falling. The rate at which the exchange between y and x takes place. Give up y, get exchange. It is a trade-off. Give up, get. Okay. The rate at which the exchange takes place is not the same. It keeps changing. Now we have to go to the concept of more is better. Okay. You always prefer a higher indifference curve. You always prefer a higher indifference curve. What does it mean? I said more is better. That is, the farther is the indifference curve from the origin, the better. Away the indifference curve from the origin, the better. Why is it so? Suppose you are at point A, B, C, D. All points give you equal satisfaction. But take a point on a higher indifference curve. Say, for example, you go to point D. Are you happier at point D? Yes. Point C shows a combination of OY1 and OX1. Are you with me? And point D shows a combination of OY2 and OX1. That should definitely make your satisfaction higher because you have the same quantity of X and more of Y. You move to the second indifference curve to point E. You have the same Y and more X. Are you happy? Yes, you should be happier on the higher indifference curve. you should be happier than C at point D and at point E. Suppose you move to another point F. Okay, you move to another point F. Come on. That means you have more of X, more of Y. Isn't it? Here more of Y and here more of X. Now please note it. That is, the farther the curve away from origin. That is, the away from origin the curve is, your satisfaction is higher. So which curve would you prefer? Now we go to the concept of indifference map. We have finished studying about indifference curve, which is only one curve representing the scale of preference. Only one curve which represents the scale of preference. But the consumer's entire preferences, for example, all taste and preferences of the consumer can be expressed in the form of an indifference map. Okay, I see 1, I see 2, I see 3, I see 4. Like that I can draw any number of indifference curves. Please remember, more is always better. Higher the indifference curve, greater the satisfaction, because greater will be the quantity of goods on a higher indifference curve. That we have seen right now, isn't it? Higher the indifference curve, happier we are, because higher is the satisfaction. As an individual, the highest indifference curve, IC6, is what I prefer, because it has more number of X and more number of Y. More is always better, right? And so this is my whole set of my taste and preference is shown by an indifference map. I prefer IC2 to IC1, IC3 to IC2, IC4 to IC3. Okay, the highest indifference curve is what I prefer. Okay, this area is not at all preferred by me. There are indifference curves on this area also because they are low. The more pushed out the indifference curve is away from the origin, the happier I am. So we have finished learning indifference curve. That is what is an indifference curve and what is marginal rate of substitution. Then the consumer's entire preference, taste and preference in the form of an indifference map. Let us go to the properties once more. The first property is downward sloping. We have already explained it. The second property is convex to the origin. That also we have explained. It is because of the marginal rate of substitution, which is diminishing. Now you will ask me, why is the marginal rate of substitution diminishing? Because of the operation of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Every additional unit of X gives you less and less satisfaction, and so when less satisfaction is received, you need to give us only less and less and less. Then a higher indifference curve shows a greater level of satisfaction. No two indifference curves will intersect each other. You can open your book and see. That is in page number 2.68. No two indifference curves will intersect. It is very easy to establish that. Suppose two indifference curves intersect, IC1 and IC2. Listen carefully. There are 3 points A, B and C. Okay, A is equal to C. Why? Because A and C lie on IC2. All points lying on an indifference curve has, equal levels of satisfaction. And so A and C represent equal satisfaction. B and C represent equal satisfaction because both are on IC1. Now I will repeat. A is equal to C, B is equal to C. So logically, A is equal to B. Is it correct? A is equal to C, B is equal to C. So the logic says, come on, mathematically also, A is equal to B. A is definitely not equal to B. Why? Because A combination has X1, please draw it, X1 and Y1, and B combination has Y2, X2. Aren't you better off at B? Yes, you have greater satisfaction at point B, and so our conclusion, if they intersect, A is equal to B, but definitely B is on a higher indifference curve. B represents more number of X and more number of Y, and you should be happier. Okay. Now let us go to another property of indifference curve, that is, higher the indifference curve, higher the utility. We have already explained. Next one is indifference curve will not touch either axis. For example, it will not touch x-axis, it will not touch y-axis. If it touches exact y-axis, what does it mean? Come on. X is equal to 0 and y is this much. Are you with me? X is 0. This combination at point E is X is equal to 0 and y is equal to POE. But our assumption is an individual prefers combinations of two goods. Look at your table. There is no 0. We should have both goods. Okay. We should have both goods, and one good should be given up in order to get an additional unit of another. Okay. And so we presume that a consumer consumes two goods as a combination, but here there is no good of X, and so it is not possible to have a point like this. Similarly, here Y is equal to 0 and X is this much. That also does not represent a combination, and so it is not a point on the indifference curve. And so you just cannot have an indifference curve which is touching either axis. Now there are two more propositions you have to remember. I hope it is clear. The properties are downward sloping, convex to the origin, non-intersecting, a higher indifference curve showing a greater satisfaction, and these curves will not, indifference curve will never touch either axis. Indifference curve cannot be a vertical straight line, it cannot be a horizontal straight line, it cannot be a line which is a rising line like a supply curve. Okay. And let us go back once more to MRS, marginal rate of substitution. I told you, the marginal rate of substitution is what gives convexity, right? The marginal rate of substitution is what gives convexity, right? Suppose you are given 2 glasses of juice or two ice cream, for example, 2 cups of vanilla ice cream. Both will give you equal satisfaction, right? You don't mind having this or that cup or this cup. Now, if you are asked to give up, you are willing to give up 1 cup of vanilla ice cream to get another cup of vanilla ice cream because they are perfect substitute. Or you are given 2 juices, don't confuse, 2 juices, one is orange juice and the other is apple juice. Now it is not vanilla ice cream both, please note, one is orange juice and one is apple juice. And I ask you to rank, you say both are equal for me, both give me equal satisfaction. So aren't you willing to give up 1 orange juice to get one apple juice? Yes. You are willing to give up 1 apple juice to get 1 more orange juice, right? Because they are perfect substitutes, right? So, when 2 goods are perfect substitutes, the indifference curve will be, please draw it in your book. It is not given in your book. The indifference curve will be a straight line. The indifference curve will be a straight line What does it mean to have a straight line indifference curve? What you give up and what you gain. Okay, delta y keeps remaining the same. Each time what you give up remains the same, or your marginal rate of substitution is constant. So repeat, when two goods are perfect substitutes, your marginal rate of substitution is constant, and when it is constant, it cannot be convex, it will be a straight line. So what gives the shape of indifference curve? It is the marginal rate of substitution, right? And so the marginal rate of substitution for two goods which are perfect substitutes, say for example, you are willing to give up, there are two colors of laddu, one is an orange color, one is an yellow color, or jalebi. You are willing to give up one for getting one, because both are equal. The satisfaction that you lost by giving up one orange laddu is the same as the satisfaction which you got by eating one, receiving by one yellow laddu. So when goods are perfect substitutes, you are willing to give up one for getting one, next one for getting one. In other words, delta y is what you give up and delta x is what you gain. The delta y, what you give up, remains the same, and that gives you a straight line indifference curve. Okay, an indifference curve which is a straight line. Okay, definitely falling, negative slope, because you are giving up and gaining, giving up and gaining. The slope should be negative, but it is not convex to the origin. Now understand, two goods can be substitutes. Perfect substitute. What is perfect substitute? One can be used in the place of another. I don't mind this or that, then it is perfect substitute. Okay. Suppose two goods are perfect complement. What is a perfect complement? Okay, a perfect complement is you cannot use one without the other. Please note it, a perfect complement. Everything cannot be written in the book. Okay, so please note it as you study, right? A perfect complement is you cannot use one without the other. Okay, you cannot use one without the other. I'll tell you, you have a pair of shoe. The left shoe and the right shoe. They're perfect complements, isn't it? You cannot walk with one shoe. You need the right shoe and the left shoe together to wear, isn't it? So they are perfect complements, right? You have a pair of socks. The left socks and the right socks, they are perfect complements, right? And so, in the case of such perfect complement, please write the example of perfect complement. Let us take, say for example, this is the left shoe, okay? And this is the right shoe, right? Okay. One and one, okay? One right shoe and one left shoe. Any number of right shoes somebody gives you, okay? Any number of right shoes added up, will it increase your utility? No, you will remain at the same level of satisfaction or the same level of utility. These are 2 right shoe, 3 right shoe, 4 right shoe, 5 right shoe. No, your satisfaction is the same level, A satisfaction. Like similarly, any number of left shoe added, okay, all these points, you will remain at the same level of satisfaction. That means your indifference curve is L-shaped. Okay, 90 degree L-shaped. This is IC1. So for perfect complements, the indifference curve is a 90 degree or L-shaped. You have 2 pairs of left shoe and 2 pairs of right shoe. Any number will give you, okay, any extra left or right shoe will not increase your satisfaction. You will be remaining at the same level of satisfaction. And so, for perfect complements, This is the shape IC1, IC2, IC3. I hope it is clear. Now we have finished learning indifference curve. We have we are happy, very happy, because we are on a higher indifference curve. I love to go to the indifference curve in the moon with all possible goods and services in this world. I love to, but it is not possible for me. Why is it not possible that I cannot move to an indifference curve which is in the air, up in the sky, with 100,000 cars and 200,000 apartments and 80,000 pairs of dress? It's not possible. Why? Because there is something called money that I have to pay. I love it. That is my taste and preference. So we have already mentioned about our taste and preference, the indifference map. I like to go up and right on the indifference curve. But I cannot go. The reason is I have limited income. My resources are scarce. Scarcity is the most important economic problem. Okay, nobody has unlimited resources. And I have a given resource, and I am not getting the goods free. I have to pay a price. So these are the two constrained restrictions that I have that makes me not possible to go up on my indifference curve. Now let us learn about the constraint. The first constraint is, come on, the money in my pocket is limited. The second constraint is, I have to pay price, only then I will get the commodity. These two constraints together are denoted by the budget constraint. Budget constraint. Budget is my pocket. My budget is, I am constrained by my budget. Always, we know it for sure. We cannot have everything because we are constrained by our budget. Now the next thing that we are going to draw is, come on, the budget line, which is also known as the price line. Please write it there. Budget line, which is also known as the price line. We will remain with the same two goods. Okay. For example, suppose your father gives, come on, I think all of you are young students and you are not earning, assuming that you are not earning, let us take a situation where your father gives you 100 rupees. Okay? 100 rupees. So that is the first assumption. The first assumption is the consumer has a given, okay, you have an indifference map. Suppose you consume only two commodities. One is chocolate and the other is ice cream. Okay, one is chocolate and the other is ice cream. So you have a given amount of money and you have a scale of preference for two goods that you are consuming. You have an indifference map. And your indifference map will tell you, you want to go to the highest possible indifference curve, consuming 2,000 chocolates and 1,000 ice cream in 6 months. Clear? Consumption is always during a period of time. So you have an indifference map. I like to reach the highest possible indifference curve. But what is the constraint? Your money income is fixed. Only 100 rupees per week. Okay, only 100 rupees per day or per week. Your income is also during a period of time. And you spend the entire 100 rupees on two goods, chocolates and ice cream. We have now three assumptions. That is, you have a well-defined indifference map. Secondly, you have a fixed money income. Thirdly, you spend the entire money income on chocolate and ice cream. Are you with me? Yes. Three things happen. And the fourth thing is, the price of chocolate is 10 rupees and the price of ice cream is 20 rupees. the prices are also given. And all chocolates are same, homogeneous. All ice cream is homogeneous and they are divisible. For example, it is possible for you to buy one ice cream and two chocolates. You can divide, okay. Divisible, that which can be divided is divisible. So you can decide to buy, say for example, 2.5 ice cream and a particular chocolate, okay, divisible. And you are a rational person. And what is rational? With your 100 rupees, you are trying to make the maximum satisfaction. Okay? Now these 6 assumptions together, you have an indifference map, you are rational, you consume 2 goods, okay? The prices of the 2 goods are given and you have only a limited income. And this income remains the same. Let us draw your budget. For example, your budget is 100 rupees. Your budget constraint is, come on, the price of chocolate is 10. Okay, 10 into the quantity of chocolate that you consume. Price of ice cream. Okay, this is chocolate. Quantity of ice cream you consume. It can, maximum, the amount that you can spend is 100 rupees. That is your budget. Okay, that is PXQX. It's given in your book. PXQX plus PYQY is less than or equal to. You can spend less. Okay, 80 rupees you can spend. Nothing, no problem. Right? But that is not our assumption. We spend the entire amount. Okay. But definitely it should be less than or equal to your budget. I hope it is clear. Okay. And now, as a consumer, I write, say for example, ice cream here and chocolate here. Okay. How many chocolates can you buy if you spend your entire income on chocolate? Come on. You can buy 10 chocolate. Okay, I put it there. I give it a name, point F. If you spend your entire money on chocolate, you can buy chocolate, 10 chocolate. Isn't it? 10 rupees multiplied by 10, you will be able to buy only 10 chocolate. Suppose you spend the entire money on ice cream. Come on. Come on. Who can, this is y-axis, who can spend, you can buy 5 ice cream, okay, here, and so we have a point A here. These are the 2 extreme points if you are buying, come on, if you are buying entire income, if you are buying chocolates, you are here, if you are buying ice cream, you are here. But you will not buy like this, because your satisfaction will be more by buying, come on, by buying anywhere combinations of chocolate and ice cream. So let us join these 2 points A and F. This is your budget space, okay? You can be anywhere O, A, F. You can be anywhere in the OAF. Now, is it possible to consume at K? It is not possible. Why is it is not possible for you to consume at K? Come on. K means how many? 11 chocolates and 5 ice cream. Isn't it? 11, I'm not drawing not to make it complicated. It is a combination of 11 chocolates and 5 ice cream. 11 chocolates will be 110 rupees and 5 ice cream will be 100 rupees. Okay. Where are you? It is not possible. Okay. It is not possible for you to spend this. Reason is your father has given you only 100 rupees. Okay. So you cannot spend. Right. Is it possible for you to be here? Yes, let's say for example you. Is it possible for you to be here? Yes. Come on, let us see. Here, what you do is, come on, at point U, I will not make complicated. Okay. you are consuming 3 units of chocolate, that is 30 rupees. And you are consuming this much for, that is spending 50 rupees on ice cream, because ice cream is divisible. The 30 rupees on chocolate and 50 rupees on ice cream. Come on, you are spending only 80 rupees. You're not spending the entire amount. So this is, you're not using all these points inside. You take any point, all the points inside the budget line, your expenditure is less than your income. That means you have saving. The closer you are to zero, the lower your expenditure. The nearer you are to the budget line, the larger your expenditure. The moment you are on the budget line, you are spending your entire income on combinations of the chocolate. For example, you take this combination, come on, of chocolate. I have not drawn it to scale. It is 60 rupees on ice cream. That is 3 ice cream and 4 chocolate. 3 ice cream is 60 rupees and 4 chocolate is 40 rupees. You spend the entire amount on ice cream and chocolate. Right? And so, wherever you are on the budget line, come on, it is equally costly. That is equal to 100 rupees. Okay, you choose where you want to be, right? You can choose A, you can choose B. B is 4 ice cream and 2 chocolate. You can choose C, D, E, F, any point you can choose. But usually you choose combinations, right? And wherever you choose, your total expenditure is your entire income, that is 100 rupees. And that is your budget line. You can't go beyond your budget line. You are spending less when you are inside your budget line. Now I'll ask you some questions. You can go home and do this homework. What will happen if the price, if your father gives you 200 rupees? Come on, or not 200 rupees. Suppose your father gives you 150 rupees. Prices remaining the same, the budget line will shift to the right. You don't have to learn all that because it's not included in the book, right? Please remember, the budget line shifts parallelly to the right if your budget increases, if your income increases, prices remaining the same. There are about 18 diagrams which you can draw. You don't have to draw all that. Suppose your father, you are not happy with the marks, okay? He reduces your income to 50 rupees, prices remaining the same, your budget line will shift to the left. Okay, so higher your budget, away from the origin your budget line will be, lower your budget, closer to the origin. Right, anyway, the budget line, the slope of the budget line is, come on, the slope of the budget line is nothing but Px by Py. Now we have come to a conclusion, 2 conclusions now. Number 1, the slope of the indifference curve is MUX by MUY, and the slope of the budget line is the price ratio of commodity X and commodity Y. Here it is the price ratio of chocolate and ice cream, because you are consuming 2 commodities, Px by Py. Right? The slope of the budget line is constant, right? For you need not, okay. You can think about the effect of change in income. That is the budget line itself will either shift to the right or to the left. I'll introduce some more. Suppose chocolates become costly, 20 rupees now. What will happen? You can only have 5 chocolates now. Earlier you could have 10 chocolates. So the foot of the budget line will shift to the left. Chocolates become cheap. With the given money you can buy more chocolates. So the foot of the budget line will shift to the right. Similarly, ice cream becomes cheap. Come on. It will be like this. The same amount of chocolate. Okay. It will. Oh, for example, on the y-axis, it will be like this. Earlier it was like this. Now Y has become cheap. You can buy more Y with 100 rupees. So like that, the budget line, its slope will change. Okay, when prices change, price ratio changes and the slope becomes different. When income changes, price remaining the same, the price ratio remains the same, and so there will be a parallel shift to the right or to the left depending upon your change in income. If it is an increase in income, if there is increase in income, your budget line will shift to the right. And if your budget is less, it will shift to the left provided the prices remain the same. I repeat, if prices change, the ratio of prices will change and so the slope will change. Suppose the prices of two goods change in the same proportion, then slope will remain the same, but the budget line will shift left or right. No need of going that much, but that is essential for you to understand it well. Now we go to a conclusion. Two conclusions we draw. Indifference curve shows the consumer's preferences. I like to go to the highest possible indifference curve because I want maximum satisfaction. More is always better. More food, more clothing, more shoes, everything more gives me greater satisfaction, and so I like to go to the highest possible curve. And what is my limitation? My budget. Okay, my money income and prices of both commodities give me the constraint. Now, I am going to discuss what is our objective, how a consumer attains maximum satisfaction. That is what we need to say, isn't it? How a consumer obtains maximum satisfaction. You remember in our earlier example, a consumer who is consuming one commodity is at maximizing his satisfaction when MUX is equal to PX. When he consumes more than one commodity, MUX by PX is equal to MUY by PY or is equal to MUZ by PZ, which is the same as the marginal utility of money spent on different commodities must be equal. Okay, right. Now here, what we are going to do is, we are superimposing, that is drawing these two curves together. Okay, we are drawing these two curves together on an XY plane. Okay, I have many indifference curves like this. Okay, I have many indifference curves like this. Now, by the way, one thing please remember, we should not be thinking that indifference curves should be parallel to each other. Not necessary. You need not draw, you don't have to draw, of course, but please note, indifference curves need not be parallel. Because the slope of one indifference curve represents its marginal rate of substitution. When marginal utilities change, marginal rate of substitution also can change. Please note it down, indifference curves will be parallel only if the marginal rate of substitutions are the same. So there is nothing wrong. I have drawn here IC1, IC2, IC3, IC4 and IC5. They are not parallel. They need not be parallel. Okay. I have a budget line called PL. I am using the same words given in your book. I have a budget line called PL. This is my budget. I cannot go beyond that. So, I cannot think of IC4, I cannot think of IC5 because it is beyond my budget. Okay, it is beyond my budget. Now, let us see, this budget is 100 rupees we know, and I can spend at point A, for example, too much of Y and too little of X, Y1, X1. Please note, I can be at point A spending 100 rupees. That was your budget. That is, I am spending too much on ice cream and too little on chocolate. I spend my entire money, but I am only at IC1. Please remember there are hundreds of indifference curves, out of which we have drawn only 5. On every point on the budget line, an indifference curve is passing. I love IC5, but I cannot go. I cannot go to IC4 because my budget does not allow me. And so, when I spend on A, I can spend here, I can spend here, I can spend anywhere I can spend. But we are taking some representative points. Say, for example, I decide to spend on A or I decide to spend on B. Come on, B, too much of X and too little of Y. Isn't it a combination? Too much of X and too little of Y. I am on IC1. That is, I am on indifference curve, my lowest indifference curve. Okay. Then, I rearrange my consumption. I reduce the ice cream and increase my chocolate and move to point C. Yes, I have now less ice cream and more chocolate. I am not drawing it not to complicate the diagram, right? Am I better off? Yes. When I moved from point A by rearranging my consumption, reducing Y and increasing X, yes, I am better off because I am on a higher indifference curve. The same is at point D also. For example, I rearrange my consumption from B to D. There are many points between B and D that we have not shown. Okay. Any point on this curve is on this budget line is a point of consumption, because you can consume any combination. We assume that chocolates and ice cream are perfectly divisible. Any combination, half of a chocolate, 1/3 of an ice cream, possible. Now I am not, okay, let me see, I make one more rearrangement and I reach point E. At point E, I am consuming OY star of ice cream and OX star of chocolate. Am I happier? Yes. I have moved from IC2 to IC3. Okay. From IC1 now I have moved to IC3. And is it possible for me to go any other rearrangement? For example, if I go to this point, there's a lower indifference curve. If I go to this point, again, I will be on a lower indifference. So the highest possible indifference curve, you can look into your book, the highest possible indifference curve attainable for me is IC3, and my best combination according to your textbook, it is Q. Q is a combination of OM of good X and ON of good Y, right? I'm happy because I am reaching the highest possible. Any point on the right is not feasible for me. It is not possible for me to go further. So from my limited income, I am reaching the highest point of my indifference curve, highest possible indifference curve. And so I have maximized my satisfaction. I am at equilibrium. Now let us see what is this equilibrium point. At this equilibrium point you find our indifference curve is tangent. What is the meaning of tangent? It is touching the price line. When two curves are tangent, their slopes are the same. Simple mathematics, isn't it? When two curves are intersecting, their values are the same. When two curves are tangent, their slopes are the same. Okay? And we know the slope is MRS, and the slope of the curve is, the slope of the budget line is PX by PY. And so we know MRS is nothing but MUX by MUY, that is MRS, and that is equal to PX by PY at equilibrium. Are you with me? So this is the slope of the indifference curve. At the point of tangency, come on, at the point of tangency E, The slope of the indifference curve and the slope of the budget line both are the same. MUX by MUI is equal to, isn't it the same as what you learned earlier? What is it that you learned earlier? What you learned earlier, this can be rewritten as, come on, MUX by PX is equal to MUY by PY. Isn't it the same thing that Marshall said? Okay. Yes. This is exactly what Marshall said. So we have traveled through two assumptions. One is cardinal utility assumption. The other is ordinal utility assumption. But finally we have reached in the same place of equimarginal utility. The consumer satisfaction is obtained by equalizing the marginal utility of money. So both the theories reach the same level of conclusion that's given in page number 271, that is at equilibrium MUX by PX is equal to MUY by PY. Then you will ask me, what is the advantage of this ordinal utility? It gets away with the unrealistic assumption. There is no unrealistic assumption of, this orange gives me 13 utility, this apple gives me 10 utility. It is very unrealistic. With ordering of preferences, which is more reasonable to think. So we have given up the cardinal assumption. Then Marshall's consumer is a single commodity consumer, keeps on drinking tea and eating chocolate. But here we have combinations of commodities. Okay. So this is more plausible, practical theory when compared to the previous theory, right? And so our consumer behavior analysis is over, and now I will look for your doubts. You may take a break of 1 minute or 2 minutes because we are highly time constrained. Okay. Now, very good. I get not many questions. I'll read. Right, good afternoon. Okay. Okay, is this year's exam going to be tough? My dear children, I do not know. No CA exam is tough according to me, because as our chairman used to say, that is, nobody fails in CA. Only those who don't study fails in CA, right? That is my opinion also. If you study, everything is going to be easy. Every single word in the book should be clear for you, right? That's all. And CA is not, it is not only for brilliant people, it's for all people who are hardworking. Okay. Relationship between PU and MU come in examination. Possible, right? It is possible. Then exercise 5A 7-6, my God. I think I'll send a mail. Who is this? Ajay Pal Singh. Because there are so many references given by you, I will send you a mail, right? Example 3.4, page number 5367. So many doubts, so I will send you a mail. I hope all those who got my mail are happy with the answers I have given you, right? Firstly, thank you for the awesome lectures. Thank you so much. Then in question number 10, right? Okay, is it question number 9, 10, exercise 5A, shortcut to solve other than go by option? I'm sorry, right now I cannot look like this because which is it, a textbook or the questions that I have given you? Okay, I cannot make out. Okay, you can. I'll send you a mail. Don't worry. Then, ma'am, scope means wider term or what? Scope is, there's no simpler word, that is, what does it cover? For example, should you, will you be covering large or will you be covering less? There's no better word for that. Scope is that. What is a scope? That is, how far should we go, is it? Okay. My God, based on concept of any solution shortcut other than the same question 2 people have asked. So 9, 10 exercise, it's not clear for me. Rank wise order, that is, Rank-wise order means yes. The best preferred, the second best preferred, yes, rank-wise. The one that is giving you highest satisfaction, which flavor? Yes, that is the ranking of order, right? When the answers of the questions you have given uploaded, answers will be given after the class on 21st. So please finish your answering. Then after the next session it will be given. Then I have doubt in set 141 question. Yes, I don't have the questions now. I am sorry. Then what is the difference between opportunity cost and marginal opportunity cost? Right, opportunity cost is whatever you sacrifice. Okay, whatever you sacrifice is opportunity cost. Now you can go home and sleep, isn't it? And that sleep is opportunity cost of your sitting in class. Okay, then marginal opportunity cost is every additional that comes in production possibility curve. It's not included in the syllabus. Marginal opportunity cost is for every additional unit of output, how much of the other output has to be sacrificed. What is rational? Applying reason, applying your brain, not according to what you feel. Yeah. What, ma'am, in indifference curve analysis, income is constant, right? Yes. We keep our incomes constant, right? That is in our budget constraint. We keep our income constant, and budget constraint is a reality, right? Ma'am, please explain MRS once again. MRS is the marginal rate of substitution. That is the rate at which good Y is given up for an additional unit of good X. Did you notice in our table, X is increasing 1 by 1. Did you notice food is increasing 1 by 1? That's why the term marginal. For every 1 unit in food increase, how much of clothing are you abandoning or giving up so that you remain at the same level of satisfaction? That is marginal rate of substitution. That is the rate at which you give up. Did you notice the rate at which you give up keeps on falling, declining. If I am using PowerPoint, I can show this colorfully in different ways, but unfortunately I am asked to give a class like this. Okay. Then please once again say the page number. Which page number? I am not looking at this simultaneously, so I hope that problem is solved. MRS and opportunity cost same, more or less, but we don't use the term opportunity cost for this. That is, what you give up is always opportunity cost, right? But here there is no cost because you are gaining, right? Because there is opportunity cost, but that is gained by the addition. So that's why we don't refer to it as opportunity cost. Opportunity cost occurs only when you are giving up, okay? And so what you give up, in one sense you can say it is opportunity cost, but it is compensated by the other. Higher indifference curve represents definitely higher level of satisfaction. I have drawn now the curve. Marginal rate of substitution once again. Yes, I have already explained. XY column, first row, what answer we put, madam? I didn't understand. I think we have written XY column, first row, what answer we put? First row, nothing is to be put, because in the first one, there is no giving up. Good, I understood. That is, marginal rate of substitution starts only when you move to the second. Okay, which chapter, madam? We are studying now consumer behavior. Why only 2 objects are taken in the ID curve? Because there are only 2 axes, x-axis and y-axis. You cannot study 3 axes at the same time. That's why we are taking only 2 at a time, keeping others constant. Indifference curve is convex to the, next question is, indifference curve is convex to the origin. Yeah, if it touches either axis, it means either of the good x or good y is 0. I hope it is clear now. You will have one good 0, but in our assumption, we consume combinations of good. The one good consumer is not our consumer. Our consumer has combinations of good x and y about which he is indifferent. MRS cannot be negative. Yes, MRS cannot be negative. MRS is always positive. Actually, when you go to higher classes, we are only studying that part of the, you will study better about it. You are studying, that is if you are taking economics, okay? We are studying only that part of indifference curve where substitution takes place and it cannot be negative. Then how much time our course is completed depends on how much, how good you are a student. If you are very good, you can finish earlier. Indifference curve cannot be concave to the origin. Please note, you are concave to the origin, then come on, then your marginal rate of substitution is increasing. You may recall our production possibility curve, it is concave to the origin. It is concave to the origin when our, come on, when our MRS is increasing. But in indifference curve, because of the operation of diminishing utility, MRS should be declining. Greater indifference curve, yeah. Please note the student, yes, good. Generally, higher indifference curve gives more satisfaction, lower one. Please note, there is a confusion for you. That is, points on the same indifference curve give you equal satisfaction, but a higher indifference curve, that is to the right, gives you greater satisfaction. Trade-off, yes, can you explain trade-off? Trade-off is giving up one in order to get another. Give up in order to get something else is a trade-off, okay? Then indifference curve cannot intersect each other. I hope it is clear for you. Then, yeah. In case of perishable good, if thought we have more, how will we have more good? Yes, in case of perishable good like a fruit, right? It's a perishable good, right? The more you have, fruits you have, the happier you will be, right? Again, explain indifference curve. Time does not permit it, right? Indifference curve is a curve which shows equal levels of satisfaction on all combinations. So as you move down, you give up one and compensate by the other so that you remain at the same level of satisfaction. Can indifference have equilibrium intersecting each other? No. No two indifference curve will intersect each other. Please go home and read. I already explained. Time does not permit. Okay. Indifference curves cannot intersect because of the reason I said A is equal to B. Come on. C is equal to A. A cannot be equal to B because the quantity of goods are different. Okay. How to prepare notes for respective subject. That you have to choose how to prepare. But in my college days, 30 years I was teaching, what I used to do is, I used to make the students read the book and convert the book into statements after understanding it, you know, convert only for till 9, that is only the lower classes. Read the book and convert the book into statements, right? And then those statements will remain in your head. Okay. Ordinal utility approach says that utility cannot be expressed in. No. We don't use numbers in difference curve. In indifference curve, what we do is we don't measure satisfaction. We only say that one is better than the other. We only say that a higher indifference curve is better. Okay. For example, the difference between IC1 and IC2, how much satisfaction difference is there? We are not saying. We only say that a higher indifference curve is preferred because it has greater satisfaction than a lower. We don't assign numbers. Okay, for example, IC1 is equal to 100, IC2 is equal to 200. No, we don't assign numbers. We only say that these numbers are that we have used as combinations of commodities and not utility. Please note. Okay, number of commodities that we eat, that we have. Okay, we did not measure utility or express utility in numbers. We only said IC2 has greater satisfaction. How much great? No number is associated with utility. I hope it is clear. Right. ICAI exam date. How can we end the chapter, ma'am? That is what we are making all out efforts to finish fast. Okay. That is why I am telling you time constrained. Okay. Please explain difference in graph of indifference curve and that you have drawn before. Graph parallel to x-axis and y-axis. Good that you have asked. For example, I am saying indifference curve cannot have a shape other than, okay, this is not an indifference curve because if it has 3 points A, B, C, come on, it shows 3 different combinations. Suppose I am eating 4 oranges. Here if it is apples, imagine 1 apple, 2 apple, 3 apple. 4 oranges and 1 apple gives me a level of satisfaction. Here 4 orange and 2 apple. B, point B is A is 4 orange and 1 apple. Here B is 4 orange and 2 apples. Don't you think B, I will be happier? Okay, eating B combination, I will be happier. That means my satisfaction is greater. The more I have, the greater will be my satisfaction. Clear? And then at C, I have the same 4 orange and 3 apple. Don't you think I am happier here, or my satisfaction is much more? That's why just go home and draw all the other shapes. That is why an indifference cannot have a vertical shape, cannot have a horizontal shape, cannot have the shape of a supply curve, because all that mean different points on these curves have different levels of satisfaction, and you are not indifferent. You are indifferent only on an indifference curve. As you have more of X, you have less of Y, so that, okay. Right. What is the meaning of consumer equilibrium? Please read your lessons, daily lessons. Consumer equilibrium is a state where consumer reaches maximum satisfaction with his available income. Why MRS diminishes? Because of the operation of law of diminishing marginal utility. The more food you have, come on, your utility for food declines. The less clothing you have, your utility for clothing increases. So, addition to your utility is less, and so you need to give up less. Okay? Yeah. What is the uses and meanings of this type of concept in our daily life? They are very useful, right? Okay. Please about indifference curve not intersect, right? Indifference curve do not intersect because, come on, because if they intersect, come on, if they intersect, right, A is equal to B equal to C. A is equal to B and B is equal to C. A is equal to B because they are on the same indifference curve. B is equal to C because they are on the same indifference curve. Then A is equal to B. But we know A is not equal to B because, yeah, they show different combinations of good. A is definitely more satisfying than B because A has more of Y and more of X. Okay. And so two indifference curves cannot intersect. Take a 1 minute break. I'm taking a 1 minute break. With this, the chapter is over, and I hope you will go home and read it and thoroughly understand it. All those numbers, exercises that you have given, I cannot go and hunt for it within these 2 limited hours. And so I think I'll go home and send you a mail. So in the complex problems in the last class also, because your email ID is available, I'll take my time off and I feel it is reasonable to ask those questions. All those questions I feel reasonable and could not answer in class. Last class also I have sent mail. So I will be sending you mail. Okay, I'll go home and check and send mail. For the answers that were given, the questions I had given, uploaded, I hope you have accessed it, you have gone and seen it. Your answers will be given immediately after the next session. Right? And one more further file you will get, that is all those lessons I have covered after giving the second file, that is up to elasticity I have given you. This consumer behavior, and then I think supply is not covered, right? Supply, consumer behavior, and also one more lesson I will give you multiple choice questions, maybe 50 to 60 numbers I will give you. Is do it because without the help of the book you do it because that is an exercise that will improve your capability of doing multiple choice questions. Okay, we want all of you to pass. That's why we are making effort, all out effort to make you understand. Okay, that takes us to one lesson we have left out. That is only 15 minutes we have to go. That is, we have to go fast. That is demand forecasting. I left it at that time because if I had touched it at that time, it is likely. Now this needs a lot of attention on your part because this is different from, this is actually business economics what we are learning now, isn't it? So that is why such lessons like demand forecasting, they are actually slightly complex, but I'll try to make it very simple, so be very attentive. Okay. Now, what is forecasting? Okay, we have in our we see people going and writing their horoscope when children are born. Horoscope. What is a horoscope? Horoscope is forecasting, isn't it? We hear about weather forecast. What is weather forecast? It is forecasting about what will be the weather 2 days from now, 3 days from now, 1 week from now. How do they write the horoscope? Because they know, the movement of stars, there is some science behind it, isn't it? Using all those calculations, those people predict, if the movement of stars at the time of the birth of the child is like this, their future will be like this. Similarly, weather forecast is based on some scientific physical evidence. Okay, some scientific evidence, that is, there is low pressure here or there is depression here, and so it is possible that there will be rain and flood and things like that. So it is based on some scientific reasoning that they make the forecast. Now we go to demand. Now imagine yourself in a business firm. You are producing whatever you like to produce. Say for example, you are producing, say for example, some electronic gadget. It can be a mobile phone, or it can be a headphone, or it can be something, anything you like. Okay, keeps a product in your mind. You are into that business, or you are producing consumer durable, or you are producing anything you like. You keep one product, write down one product on your paper, okay? And why do you want to know how much of this good will be sold? It is very important, isn't it? So we use some scientific evidence, that is data, your observation of the market, okay, previous sales. So like that, based on some information, you predict what will be the demand in the coming month. If it is a hotel, how do they know how many rotis to be made? Because they know from their past experience that so much number of rotis or bread or whatever it is, okay, or aloo or whatever, how much of it they have to make, because they know from past experience. So all the past data we are using to project, did you get the word? To foresee, to predict, to estimate what will be the demand in future. Okay. The prediction of demand on future date, it can be one day, we are going to that term and all, we'll come to that. And so that predicting of future sales, what will be the possible future sales, what will be the possible demand in future, is what is known as demand forecasting. Forecasting is predicting. Forecasting is saying what will be standing at this point of time. We are predicting what will be the sales in future. If you know it, why do you want to know it? Please read every single word in this demand forecasting, because every single word is meaningful in this lesson. Okay? Because it is compressed information, right? Now, efficient business planning. You want to plan your business. You want to make your decisions about your business. Okay, that is how to operate your business. What production process should I have? How should I schedule production? Because during rainy season, we know lots of umbrella will be necessary. You can, in June, we start our rainy season in Kerala, but umbrella producers are not producing the umbrella in June. They start producing umbrella early in the month of October. Okay. So when to start production? What will be the demand for umbrella this year? And when to start production? How much raw material is to be brought? What process should I use? If I expect a huge increase in demand, I should go for a better mechanized process, isn't it? Where should I get? Should I buy this component? Should I make this component? What capacity I need? I am talking only points from your book. My capacity planning. Should I have a smaller capacity? Should I have a larger capacity? Where will I get money for this? Where will I get the resources? Where will I get specialized human beings? Okay, labor. Where will I get the components? Right? Then what should be my marketing strategy? If I expect the demand this much, what should be my advertisement strategy? How much of inventory should I keep? Inventory is stock of goods, stock of raw materials, stock of semi-finished goods, okay, stock of finished goods. How much should I keep? So such planning, okay, planning of my resources, planning of my production, planning of my, machines, everything I can do if I know what is the demand in future. Okay, and so for business planning, business decision making, it is very important that we know forecast. Okay, so there are different levels of forecast. Okay, that is the scope of forecast itself. Okay, scope, we are going to that later. Macro level. Macro means you are looking at the environment of the economy in which you are producing. We know now COVID-19 is there. People have actually reduced their production. Why? Because they are forecasting lower sales. So the general economic condition prevailing. Okay, if there is a war or a civil disturbance, some riot inside, okay, sales will be less. So you have an idea about the macro level. That is overall given this situation, or there is a good harvest so that people have money, and what will be the total demand. That is macro level forecasting. Then macro level forecasting is, forecasting of demand, general demand for goods and services. And I am into steel industry, okay? Now steel industry will have a different forecast. That is 3 levels it is. I will draw it like this. Macro level forecasting is, the entire forecasting given the situation. You read the situation, the country. Is it good or bad? Macro level forecasting. Then it can be industry level forecasting. Okay. Only steel industry or manufacturing industry. Okay? Steel industry. Or it can be firm level. Okay. For example, Tata Steel. Okay. Tata Steel. That is firm level forecasting. So there can be different levels of forecasting. Then based on time, it can be short-term forecasting, it can be long-term forecasting. For example, what will be the demand in the next 10 years? Okay, demand for solar panels in the next 10 years. Then there is some demand distinction given in your book. Producers good and consumer good. What is a producer good? Producer goods are used by producers to produce other goods. For example, a machine that is used for making plastic chairs. Okay, now lots of plastic chairs are bought, and that is a producer good. And a chair is a consumer good. So producers goods are capital goods which are used for further production of production of good. Now the goods that are produced may be producers goods used for production of capital goods, that is producers goods itself, that is machines producing machines, right? Or producers goods can be used for producing consumer goods, like a chair making machine making a plastic chair, or cable making machine making a cable. Right, it is a consumer good. Consumer goods can be durable consumer goods. That is, you can use it over and over again, like your clothes, your refrigerator, your fan, your television in your house. They are durable. It can be non-durable goods. That is, you cannot eat your bread again and again. You cannot eat your pastry again and again. You cannot drink your fruit juice or milk again and again. That is non-durable good. Then there is a demand distinction. Durable good demand, non-durable. Actually, the factors that determine their demand is different. That's why we have to know what good are we producing. Are we producing durable good? Are we producing non-durable good? Then there are 2 concepts given in your book. Derived demand, autonomous demand. I'm going slightly fast. Derived is derived from some other demand for some other good. I'll tell you one example. Demand for brick, cement bricks. Where does it come from? It is not demanded for its own sake, isn't it? It is demanded because of the demand for houses, because of the demand for construction. Cement is demanded. Demand for cement is derived demand because it is derived from the demand for construction of bridges, construction of buildings, and so on. So derived demand is demand for the product derived from the demand for some other good it helps to produce. And what is autonomous demand? I'm sorry. I would like to buy milk. That is for making coffee. That is for making coffee, then it is derived demand. That is for drinking, then it is autonomous demand. Demanded for its own sake, okay, not dependent upon some other good. The next one is industry demand. For example, demand for steel demand for cement, demand for computers, right? This is total demand is industry demand. We have done it, you remember, our market demand earlier. And what is company demand? Company demand is the demand for computers produced by Dell, the demand for computers produced by HP, the demand for computers produced by Lenovo, okay, and that is company demand. So industry demand is for the entire industry. Short-run demand, long-run demand. Short-run demand is demand for, during a short period of time. Demand during winter season. Demand during rainy season. But long-run demand is what would be the demand for diesel-driven cars in the next 10 years? What will be the demand for electricity in the next 10 years? Okay, and we know the factors that decide demand for durable goods are, come on, non-durable goods, of course, are all our factors like income, price. But in the case of durable goods, come on, we can postpone the purchase of durable good, and durable goods need special facilities. Like if you want to use a fan, we need electricity. If you want to use a refrigerator, you need electricity. And durable goods are usually used more than one person. Like your car is not used by you alone, by the entire family. Your refrigerator is not used by you alone, it is used by the entire family. And you know, there is something called a replacement demand. Okay, replacement demand is, you find that your air conditioner is not working, your laptop or your mobile phone is not working, you are replacing it. Sometimes you can postpone the replacement, isn't it? If you don't have sufficient money, replacement you can delay. Then, there is one more thing about a durable good. Usually, people borrow money for buying durable goods. And so, if interest rate is very high, less people will borrow. Less people borrow means less demand. Okay. Now, this is durable goods. These are the factors that affect the durable goods, and factors that affect the producer goods also I'll explain and then stop. Maybe I'll take another 2 minutes. What is a producer? Because it consists of many difficult terms. What is a producer good? A producer good is used for further production. Right. Its demand is derived demand. And your goods demand, your machine's demand depends upon the demand for the product that you produce. Okay. That is, the product that you produce is in high demand, there will be more demand for machinery also. If steel bars are more in demand, there will be more demand for production of machines that produce steel bars. Okay. Then there is one term given in your book, norms of utilization. That is, as you go to an industry, you will find, there are some norms of capital use. For example, this much capital should be used for producing this. And the more capital intensive you are, the greater will be the need for capital intensive goods. Then more capital will be used when price of labor, labor increases. Okay, when price of labor increases, we always will try to, if a watchman is available very low price, we will appoint a security to watchman to open and close the door. If the watchman is very expensive, we will have an automatic door opening closing machine. Okay, and so with this we stop. Next topic that we need to cover. Please read this much and come to the next class. Demand forecasting up to methods of demand forecasting. If you can, please read methods also so that we cover fast. Because next class we have got to go to chapter 1. That is how it is scheduled. Okay, chapter 1 is one requires more explanation, and so it is better that we make the best use of our time. And the second file has come, right? Okay. Now these are the questions. There are many. Maybe I'll take another 10 to 15 minutes. I'm sorry because we have time limitation. So those who would like to listen, please stay back. Meaning of convex to the origin. Yes, good that you are asking. I'm happy because you are listening to the class. That's why you are asking, isn't it? So convex to the origin means this. I am happy that you are asking. This is origin, isn't it? There are 4 quadrants. This is the origin Z. If you look from here, what is the shade here? It is convex, isn't it? This part is convex. This is convex to the origin. I hope I have answered you. That is the meaning. Now, what are the possibilities? This is concave to the origin. If you look from here, this is concave. Concave is like this, convex is like this. I hope it is clear. Convex to the origin. Wants are classified as necessaries, comforts, and luxuries. Yes. Yeah. Wants or goods that satisfy wants can be necessaries, comforts. 90th sum in the multiple choice question. I don't have the question, right? I'm sorry. Did numerical questions come in the exam? Yes. But not only numericals, theory questions will also come. Application of numericals will come. Next question. What is the please explain budget line. Budget line shows that is you have a budget. Budget is the money available in your pocket. The money that you can spend on something, that is your budget. Okay. And our consumer consumes only 2 things. We are simplifying because a consumer who is consuming 100 things, you cannot study in economics. So we keep other things constant and study about the consumer who is consuming 2 goods. And the budget line, our chocolate example, you remember, isn't it? The budget line shows combinations of 2 goods that the consumer can buy using his entire budget. The combinations of 2 goods. If you are touching the y-axis, the point where it touches it is like this. The point where it touches the y-axis, it means you are spending your entire 100 rupees on good wine. The point where it touches x-axis, you are spending your entire money. But nobody spends their entire money on them. We have combinations of 2 goods, okay? So you can consume anywhere. Each one will show a combination of good X and good Y. And so, budget line is a line which shows all possible, did you notice? All possible combinations of 2 goods which a consumer can buy with a given resource, that is money, or with a given budget, when prices of both goods remain the same and the entire money is spent on these 2 goods. I hope it is clear. That is a budget line. Shows combinations of 2 goods. This is a combination. This is a combination. This is a combination. Okay. X and Y is a combination. A combination of 2 goods that a consumer can buy at given prices with a given income. Okay. What is the meaning of constraint? A constraint is a restriction. Okay. You cannot buy unlimited quantities because you are restricted by your money income. Okay. A constraint. You cannot sit and study 24 hours because there is a physical constraint. You will feel sleepy. You will feel. That is constraint. That is a limitation. Okay. Limitation that you have. Margin MUX by MUY is the ratio. Actually, it has to be derived using mathematics, for which we don't have time. We don't teach like that, all the derivations. For economic students who are doing BA, we teach them like that. But here, we simply say, okay, the ratio of marginal utility is MRS. That is, for the time being, I'll tell you, mu x is what you gain, mu y is what you lose. Okay, now the ratio should be the same, isn't it? The gain of mu x should be equal to the loss of mu y. So, marginal utility of y you lose, that is on the margin, how much you lose for 1 unit of y, or that number of units of y should be gained by one more additional unit of x. Okay. What is necessary or not spent? Okay. What that it is necessary or not, you spend the entire amount as per consumer's equilibrium. Can we not set some amount? No. You can only set some amount, but when we study a consumer, we have an assumption that he spends his entire income to maximize his satisfaction. Otherwise, we will not be lying on the budget line. We'll be lying somewhere inside. So we need a specific consumer whom we can pinpoint uses his entire money for satisfaction. Okay. There's nothing wrong, but you cannot study such a person because different people will set apart different amounts. Okay. Mu by mx is the ratio of marginal utilities. Okay. That is what you give up and what you gain. Yeah. Thanks a lot, madam. Awesome teaching. Oh, thank you so much for appreciation. Which date we are going to have ICAI exam, all that we do not know. Where can I get the questions? I think ICAI has uploaded it, the questions. Formulas related to mu and tu come in the exam. Yes, definitely. That is relationship for mu and tu. There are 13 statements which we made. Okay, please learn that. Ma'am, that equilibrium part is not getting, please explain. Equilibrium is when a consumer reaches the highest possible indifference curve with his limited income. Okay, that is, he tries to maximize his satisfaction with his limited income. So our consumer in the equilibrium, consumer's equilibrium is with his limited income represented by the budget line, he is reaching IC3, which is the highest possible indifference curve he can reach. I repeat, a consumer is in equilibrium when he gets maximum satisfaction from his limited income. Maximum satisfaction is the highest possible indifference curve. Given his limited income is his budget line. So where his budget line is tangent, touching the indifference curve, he is at the highest possible indifference curve. He is maximizing his utility. And so, with the available money, that is with the available budget, he is trying to reach the highest possible. This is not okay for him. He is rearranging his consumption, rearranging the consumption of X and Y in such a manner that he reaches the highest possible indifference curve. When he does that, he is maximizing his satisfaction. Okay? And he is in equilibrium. I repeat, a consumer is in equilibrium when he is maximizing his satisfaction. That is when he is reaching the highest possible indifference curve given his budget constraint. Okay? Ma'am, please. Okay. Please give chapter-wise weightage. That is all given by ICAI. That is what weightage will be given. Each chapter will be given 20% weightage. But you should not be studying like that. Chartered accountancy is a different program. You know why CA is so credible. If you become a chartered accountant, they will look at you. Okay, yes, there is a chartered accountant going. They're different from others. Not even an IAS person can command this much of credibility. You know why? Because you study each and every sentence, you have your experience, practical experience, and you know the subject well. Unless and until you know the entire subject, every single sentence, you're not going to pass. Okay, I'm not discouraging you, but you need to know everything. That is why a chartered accountant is respected in the society, isn't it? Because he is not like a university student. A university student can simply reproduce and pass, but a chartered accountant has to really know the subject. So please don't think about weightage, right? Please don't think about leaving any single portion. Please learn everything, because you are going to be a chartered accountant who is different from others. Okay, I enjoyed in learning too much. Thank you so much for enjoying. Thank you for your good class. Thank you so much for expressing your happiness. Where we get your given questions, I think you have to contact the Board of Studies. Questions are given. Explain income elasticity of demand. Very sorry, I cannot go back that much, but still income elasticity of demand is how your demand expands or contracts when your income changes. When your income changes, demand for all normal goods would increase, demand for inferior goods will decrease. That's why income elasticity of demand for normal goods is positive and for inferior goods it is. Point of satiety, point of satiety is the maximum utility point. That is when mu is equal to 0, total utility is maximum, and that is the point of satiety. Then plus 2 result, okay. Oh, plus 2 results have come, so good. I'm sure you're done you've got very high percentage of marks. All good wishes, and be proud of what you have gained. Okay, and those who lost, don't worry, you can make it up in your foundation and chartered accountancy. Please note, your percentages do not matter. I've seen 65% students passing the entire exam in first chance. I have seen in my life. And so it is, the percentages do not matter. The effort you put in is more important. Okay. So don't be afraid if your marks are not good. Then can you explain equilibrium with the table? No, you cannot, because it will be a very complex table. You cannot put all those things in the same table. Okay, please give us a table or schedule, budget line, indifference curve, consumer equilibrium. Yeah, for indifference curve table is given. For consumer equilibrium there is no such table because there are multiple indifference curve. Please note, no such table because there are many indifference curves giving different levels of utility. Then table for budget line, of course you can make. That is 100 rupees. That is the table I said, okay? The number of chocolates that you eat multiplied by the price of chocolate. Finally, the last column will be your budget 100. Easily you can make, okay? Do we have to take only related goods in indifference curve? Actually, good X and good Y need not be related at all. Okay? If they are substitutes or complements, right? If they are substitutes or complements, then the shape of the indifference curve is different. Here, okay. Ma'am, convex means I have already explained. Will indifference curve touch x-axis and y-axis also? I have explained. If it touches x-axis or y-axis, that means one of the commodity is 0, either x or y. But we need combinations. Our consumer is having combination of x and y. BCK session, when will it start? I have no idea. I am sorry. Please explain concave and convex. I have already explained. Convex says, as you look from here, how does it look? It's convex. If you look from here, it looks like this. It is concave. Will ICAI virtual classes lockdown is completely lifted? I have no idea. Please ask your board of studies. They will answer. They are very good at answering, so please ask. Ma'am, please explain indifference curve. I have already explained, my dear. Indifference curve is a curve that shows equal levels of satisfaction. So wherever you are on the indifference curve, you wouldn't mind because all points give you equal satisfaction. Give us a hint to study. Have you studied economics? There is no shortcut to success is my opinion. I have taken great strain in understanding each and every sentence as a student. I never used to leave even a single concept if I did not understand. So please learn everything but understand everything. Never by heart anything. Okay? If you understand, you have to study economics for intermediate also. You require knowledge of economics, and knowledge of economics is necessary for life. So please understand and learn. If is paper 4, what is part 2? BCK. BCK is another part. Please explain equilibrium price. Equilibrium price is where demand is equal to supply. You will be learning again about it as you go to the next lesson. All movements in equilibrium you will have to learn. So you will be studying in detail later. So for the time being, equilibrium is where demand is equal to supply. They intersect because one is coming down, the other is going up, and so they intersect at a point, and that intersecting point, I'll tell you, quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. I can draw it very fast on the board. Quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. So this is the price, and this is quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. And equilibrium price is that. Equilibrium price, quantity, there is no excess supply. Whatever is demanded is supplied. Whatever is supplied is demanded. Okay? You make 100 cups of coffee, sell it at 10 rupees. 100 people come and drink the coffee, then you are at equilibrium. When will you start supply? My God, supply is over. Then, do you extend the class, ma'am? All that is in the hands of Board of Studies, and they are doing a wonderful work by giving you all these online classes, and you should be very lucky students, and please ask your doubts to the Board of Studies. And thank you so much. I enjoyed teaching you today, and I hope you enjoyed the class. And please go home, read each and every sentence, study each and every sentence. You will never fail. You have studied. Okay. So studying is what is important, not the percentage of marks that you got in your +2. So let us start, understanding the subject. Not for reproducing it. Okay? Understanding the subject. Once you understand the subject, you will start loving it. And once you start loving it, you will be a great learner. So all good wishes. Let's see in the next class. And one more file will be uploaded. And please try to read. Thank you. Thank you so much.